I think it's time that we start the conversation and silence the shame.
Silence the shame.
Silence the shame. Silence is the difference between treatment or pain, life or death.
Silence the shame.
Speak up now and silence.
Silence
the shame.
Welcome to the Silence the Shame podcast. It's your girl, L.ife. I am the new host for the podcast, and I'm super excited to be here. First, let me give a shout out to our original OG podcast host, Shanti Dawson Free. We really appreciate you, but now it's time to take on L.ife. You guys, I have an exciting episode today. We know that we are going into the holiday season. The season has changed. The leaves are falling. It's getting darker way too early for my comfort zone. But in that time period, lots of things happen within your inner self and your outer self. And today we're going to have a conversation about just that. Seasonal Affective Disorder. What happens to your body when the seasons change? I have two wonderful guests with me today, and I'm super excited to bring them to this conversation. Our first guest is Jasmine Coer, and our second person is Charjoi. Super excited. Jasmine, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, L.ife, for allowing me to be here. I'm so thankful to be here. My name is Jasmine Coer. I'm the founder and CEO of Color My Story.
Yes. And Charjoi?
Awesome. Hey, y'all. I'm Charjoi. I wear many hats. And so not only am I a part of the Silence the Shame team, but I've dabbled in my own brand and honestly, just living life.
Super excited to have them. As I told y'all, these are wonderful women doing wonderful things. As we're coming into the change of seasons and the change of time, there are some things that you need to have in your toolkit so that you are able to deal with those changes that's happening within your own body. Super excited for Charjoi to bring the information that she has with learning in joyful healing and silence the shame. And then Jasmine is going to leave us with an actual product, a self-care tool that we all can utilize to be able to move through these changing times, not by yourself, with some assistance so that you don't find yourself staying in those dark moments or in that changing season. Ladies, welcome to the Silence the Shame podcast. How are y'all?
Wonderful.
Good.
Wonderful.
Charjoi?
I'm all right. It's the season kind of, as seasons change and it gets colder and darker, I just find myself having to do more.
Okay.
Do more to care for me and, use all the tools in the toolbox. Okay, it's not just one or two; it's all of them at this point. But I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. I'm not a cold child whatsoever. Like, I love my heat. I love the sun. So like having the sun go away about 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'd be like, baby, is it time to like lay down?
Right.
Is it time to go to bed? So I'm all right. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's
Don't
fine.
you just let a little
Everything
dog and it's fire around him and he's like, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It is fine, but it is an intentionality that we need to put with making sure that we are fine. And when those seasons change with us and seasons change in the seasons, like winter, fall, spring, summer, I think I got all the seasons.
There's 4.
There's some things that we need to make sure that we're putting in our toolbox in ourselves to make sure that when they do change, that we are not having this drastic change in life, right? Jasmine, I know that you have a wonderful organization called Color My Story, and you have a story behind that story. Tell me a little bit of how you got to needing some inner assistance with yourself to deal with some of this change.
That's a loaded question. But for those who may not know, and thank you for always being an advocate for Color My Story. Color My Story is a wellness brand. We teach youth and working professionals how to deal with their reality using art and storytelling. And so I created this because exactly what we're talking about. I had 2 very hard deaths in my life. Okay. I lost my godfather, who was my dad, my papa. I lost him in the fall, who's also born in the fall. And then I lost my grandmother in the spring, who's also born in the spring. So when we talk about seasonal transition and those feelings, I had to create a product to be coupled with my therapy to help me get through those days when I'm in the house and I don't want to leave the bed or when I don't want to engage with the world. So I created this color kit that allows me to color in my safe space of my home and yeah, it's just one of my favorite things in my toolkit outside of my therapy. Shout out to Dr. Reeves. I love you so much. But yeah, I needed to in order to deal with grief. I needed to deal with grief. So that's why I created the product.
Okay. And we deal with grief. And when seasons change, usually around this time of the year, we're going into the holiday season, you're thinking of things that you have lost. You've now lost some sunlight on the outside, which is now turned inside and sort of dimming your light on the inside. And many of us deal with these changes, and many of us have these grief moments after the death has happened. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 years, 1 year, 10 years, 30 days. You never know when grief will hit you, right? And it's an ever evolving transition of life that we deal with. In this time when you're dealing with transition and when the time is changing and you're dealing with grief and the holidays are now approaching us, can you give the listeners a little insight on how you deal with that and some things that you do? I know we have Color My Story, and we'll get more into that at the end of this episode, but I really, really want to get into what do you do personally outside of your therapist, outside of your going and having a business and throwing yourself into your career. What are some things that you are intentional about on a day-to-day basis so that you're building that foundation so when these dark moments come, you sort of have that foundation already set? Charjoi?
Yeah. Wow, that's a loaded question. Every year I find that it's different, honestly. Every year it's really different for me because I'm learning the process that I have was just like navigating life throughout the year, but then also recognizing that, okay, well, for the past couple of years, I've noticed that when it starts getting cold, when it's like fall and winter starts coming, my mood changes. My physical body and my mental mind and process changes. And so it's something that I've noticed where, we talk about the winter blues, or we just talk about kind of like, I stay kind of secluded and home when it's cold and it's wintertime, but like, what is that, right?
Right.
And so I'm sure we'll get more into like seasonal affective disorder, right? The clinical term for it. And while I'm not officially diagnosed, it's something that I've noticed and I've tuned into myself to like, recognize and just say, hey, I need to take care of me, and what does that look like? So that means like since I've been working from home since 2020, like I have to be more intentional about going outside. I started working from home when the pandemic hit, and I never went back in because now I'm at this wonderful organization that happens to be remote. Well, so while I've made my home my sanctuary and I love to be in my house, I'm like, but I also need to go outside. Right. Oh, I've been in the house for 3 days straight. I haven't seen outside. I haven't felt the breeze on my face. I haven't felt the sun. As cold as it can be, I haven't felt the sunshine on my skin. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and go for a 5, 10, 15-minute walk. Let me make sure I get out the house today. It's also about what I'm putting in my body. Am I making sure that I'm staying hydrated, consuming as much water as possible? Anyone who knows me knows I'm a little fish. I'm like, I have water literally everywhere I go. Am I, eating the right foods? Because I'm not gonna lie, food is my friend, and when it becomes cold, I
get real friendly.
I get real friendly, okay? The comfort food, the comfort, okay? It's providing me as much comfort as possible. So I'm like, I want all the yummy snacks, and I am practically like acting like a little bear going into hibernation. So I'm like, let me go ahead and get yummy and like warm and but am I right? Am I eating the right foods? Am I taking the time out to do like the mindfulness? Am I praying? Am I meditating? Am I breathing? Is my jaw clenched? Is like literally like paying attention. It's so much about self-awareness that each year I just get a little bit more aware of just like how to tune in with me. A little, back history about who I am. I am a recovering people pleaser. I'm a recovering codependent. Like I have these attributes about myself that I give myself so much to everything and everyone around me that I can get burned out very easily and very, just throughout the year. Years have been really hard in the past where I'm like, okay, let me figure out what to do for myself. So it's a daily practice for sure.
And thank you, Charjoi. You made many points that I want to touch on, and one of them is paying attention to yourself. Jasmine, when you went through this grief process and you realized that I needed something more, therapy, color my story, some intentionality of going outside and actually letting the sun feed you. We don't realize how much the outside, not the outside that we talk about, not outside.
We outside.
I'm talking about like the wind and the sun and the grass, how that really feeds and fuels your soul. Like I was watching something the other day, and it said, take your shoes off and step in the grass as if the grass was feeding your soul. Like feel the grass as if it was actually feeding you and the difference that could make for you. Yeah. And you spoke on seasonal affective disorder and how in that it's, so when you think about SAD or seasonal affective disorder, you think about it comes in seasons. It's not continuous. Like depression is something that happens on a day-to-day basis. Seasonal comes in and out of your life. So, and during certain times of the year. Jasmine, with Color My Story and with the grief that you had and knowing you had to be intentional of looking within and feeling within and paying attention with what's happening with my body, how did that transform into Color My Story or into you receiving therapy? Was it a trigger that happened that took you over and was like, I need some extra help? Or was it you really looking and saying, hey, I need to really identify how to not trigger myself, but have pieces that trigger greatness within me instead of triggering sadness?
For sure. I think, and just a trigger warning, I am going to talk about suicide, so I do like to tell people that before I tell my story. But I knew it when I got to a really dark place where I tried to take my life. And when that happened, in that dark season, I asked God, if you spare me, I'll dedicate my life to not only healing myself, but making sure others are healing in a community, in a safe space. So it was that very near fatal experience that was a mirror in my face to say, hey, you need extra help. You need to not only create extra help for others, but you need extra help for yourself. So I was committed to just working on myself for 8 months straight. And then while I was working on myself, I created an environment for others. And that's really how Color My Story sparked. So yeah, it's very important to listen to yourself. If you're not in a healthy space, talk to someone and know that, it gets better.
It gets better.
It gets better.
It gets better, but we have to make ourselves get better.
We have to. You have to be. You got to be very intentional.
Like in Silence the Shame, it's in that name, just Silence the Shame itself. Like the shame of not letting people know you're not okay. Like we've got to get over that. Yeah. Both of you said that and I think all three of us at this table give 200% to everyone else. Mm-hmm. Like we're always making sure someone else is okay. And how much that's taking away from us actually making sure ourselves are okay to even give that to someone else. And that's where I am right now in life. Like I've given so much to everyone else. And when I look back at it, I haven't filled myself much at all. And again, people who need healing heal others because you're looking for something that someone never gave you. So you're making sure that those around you never feel like you are. But you never stop feeling like you are. Like I still feel down. I still have moments like right now, I would be in my room, like curtains closed, lights off, like you might come in and the TV is on. You might come in and I'm in pitch black and my daughter be like, it's that time again. I don't want her to know that it's that time again. I've got to figure out ways, we've got to figure out ways while healing others to heal ourselves and not allow it to get to a place where we get into a dark sunken moment or we allow the season to make us go into a hibernation or really, really masking how we're really feeling by, I call it it's a fake smile.
Mm-hmm. It's a mask.
Man. Yeah. The hurt behind that smile. And what people don't realize when I'm giving this smile, right? Like I smile on a daily basis and you would never know that behind closed doors, I am crying my eyes out. Right. And what that smile provides for me is my armor. Tell me your armor that you need to take off to realize your true self and what that looks like for you guys. You ladies, I'm so sorry.
I'll go. It don't matter. Or you can go. I was Wow.
Taking your mask off in your armor.
Yeah, because my armor was thick.
Yeah.
Okay? I would probably say my armor was thick up until 2019. I call 2019 my dark season.
Okay.
Because that's when, like, literally, like, a lifetime of, like, being everything to everybody kind of just, like, it had dug a deep enough hole that I felt like I could not get out of. And I was drowning.
Yeah.
Like, I was literally drowning. Like, it was basically, like, my quarter life crisis, and I had just came out of my master's program. Like, I was navigating life outside of
School stuff.
not just school, but growing up, the part that I had always envisioned, like, was getting up to my master's. I never envisioned anything after that.
Wow. That's
and
powerful.
So now being in that space where I'm now like, okay, I did it. I did it all. Like, I accomplished it. So what's going on now to where I'm like, what does my life mean now? What is my purpose? What is my life? So in 2019, it just, like, rained down on me, and I had such a huge armor up, not recognizing, like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm nurturing, I'm this, I'm that motherhood, that motherly nurturing. I felt like that was my armor because I just poured into everybody else, and everybody said I was a natural nurturer.
But nobody nurtured you. Or you weren't nurturing yourself.
I wasn't nurturing myself.
Got it.
And I wore that as my armor, as my purpose, as my identity, because I'm like, this is what I'm good at. I can love people. And so what happened was I realized that I didn't love myself. I never really looked myself dead in the face before, like in any mirror. Like, I didn't know how to take compliments. I had very low self-esteem. Like, it was just like this. I didn't know who I was. Yeah. I looked in the mirror. I was like, who is that girl?
And for so long, you were trying to be. You were You were in your school, and that was your identity. That was your.
I was my accomplishments, and so once that was done.
Once I accomplished the goal who am I? What am I to give now? What happens next?
What's next?
Your armor, Jazz.
Mine would probably be I never let people in. So going back to what you're saying, the whole wearing a smile. I'll always, if you ask me how I'm doing, immediately I'm going to say, how are you? What's going on with you? You want to give me my flowers? I'm going to immediately turn it back on you.
Wow.
I never let people know what was going on in my private life or get to know me on a very below surface level. So eventually I had to take that off because it's not healthy to me to just, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
So I needed people to pour into me, and I needed to pour in myself. So I had to remove it or I wasn't going to make it. So that was my armor.
Okay. I think we all have the same armor. I think we are all similar in that sense, right? This year, my age, I won't tell y'all, but I love my age. I am hitting in what I refuse to call the M word. It's adult puberty is what I'm going through. I'm not going through that M word, okay? But for me, I'm changing inside. My hormones are changing. I am only living as a title. I have not lived for my name. I've only lived as a mother, a sister, a daughter, a aunt, a cousin, a best friend. I never lived for life. So I didn't know how to live life. Literally, life, right? I didn't know how to live it because I only knew how to give it. I only knew how to give away. I don't think I lived for almost 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say because I'm alive. You know what I mean? Like,
you're alive, but are you living?
I wasn't living. I was giving everything away. So when I came home, I was so drained. And that's what happens in this seasonal affective disorder, right? You get low energy, you get depressed, you feel isolated and sluggish. You have a change in your appetite and your weight. So all of this happened. And people just say, like my baby sister says, her weight fluctuates. It ain't fluctuated yet, but we're going to talk about that later on another episode. But it fluctuates, right? Our moods fluctuate, and we think we're happy. Yeah. We think we're having a good time. We're at the parties. We outside. We going out with friends. But as soon as that door closes to our home, as soon as probably to your car, if you're not driving someone in the car, it's an instantly cut off.
Ooh,
it's
I'm
like,
glad you said that.
You know what I mean? Like you go from life to, and I don't want to say dead, but you go to not living as soon as you step to yourself. Yeah. Why is that? Why do we feel the need that we have to give so much life and not live life? And now that we are living life, has that taken away from you giving life?
So I'll say this. So again, in 2019, I was out partying, like happy hours, hanging out, friends were good, like we were outside, okay? Having a ball. And literally, it's so funny you said it, because literally as soon as I stepped in my car, it was full-blown meltdown.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I would be having a meltdown.
Right, in the parking lot.
It would start in the bar. I'm like, oh,
I'm ready to go.
I'm uncomfortable. Like I feel unsafe. And so that's how it felt. It felt like I was uncomfortable and unsafe within myself. And so I'm like, I gotta go. And so literally like walking to the car, getting in the car, and like literally outburst of tears. Can't function, can't. And let's be very clear, I was definitely putting myself in danger because I'm leaving the bar. So we all know what we do at the bar at happy hour. Them $5 drinks. And
we had a good time.
But then I'm getting in my car.
Right.
And like not just putting other people in danger, putting myself in danger. But I also felt like I don't care because I'm in so much pain and so much grief and so much sadness that I'm like, Jesus is going to have to take the wheel each and every time. Literally. And so it's like, you know, having to deal with those emotions. Yes, we're talking about seasonal change, but just throughout the year, like my seasonal change happened throughout that entire year, just from a life of transitions and a life of like having to kind of deal with that. So like following that, and after that, I'm on the other side. I don't necessarily think it's hard to continue to give.
Okay.
Just to answer your question, like I don't think it's hard to continue to like give to other people, but what I am doing is not prioritizing myself in that.
Got you.
And I'm like, do I have the capacity to be in the space, to be able to be a listening ear, to be a shoulder, to give advice? Like, what capacity do I have? And I've started to, you know, me and my friend group have started to learn with each other. It's like, before we get on this phone and we start venting to each other, can I ask you, do you have the space for this?
Yeah. That's the difference. I think that's a huge shift. That's a huge shift, because we always think that if they pick up their phone, they're ready to receive that dump. And everybody's not ready to receive that dump, right? Like everybody is in their own stuff, shit. Like literally, like we are all in our life is lifing everyone, right? Yep. And for me, it was, I can't identify why I feel this way. I am blessed beyond. I have life. I have a career. My children are great. My health is, health is health. It goes and it comes, we eat right, we do right. Sometimes we don't. I couldn't identify what was making me sad. But I was like sad, like crying, bawling, I sent a prayer to my family. They was like, that's not us. And I was like, maybe it's not you, but I'm feeling this way. So when you said, asking that question, can you receive this? And when I sent that message to my family, nobody asked,
what's going on? Are you all right?
It was, that ain't for us. We ain't like that. No, you're not like that. I'm feeling this right now. And I need you to recognize this feeling. And because it wasn't recognized, I went back into my space, because now I don't feel comfortable. Now I don't want to release anything else to y'all. And even sometimes we don't know how to release it. Sometimes we don't know how to give it. Sometimes we give it in anger. Sometimes we cursing people out when it ain't even for them. Sometimes we shutting people off, and we really need to be reeling them in. Like, I literally cut everyone off. Everybody. Baby daddy, kids, my mama. Like, my brother had to call and be like, yo, I need you to check in with me. I don't like not hearing. Everybody was calling me at that point because I was calling no one else. Everyone was used to me calling everybody. Everybody was used to me being that one checking on everybody. And now I don't do it. I had to literally cut it off because I was cutting myself completely off.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you don't feel yourself, I think you mentioned that, Jazz, if you're not feeling, you're pouring from an empty cup, and that is hurt, harm, very bad for you to even move forward, to live, to have the want to live, the desire to live, the drive to live. So when we think about seasonal affective disorder, and we thinking about being intentional and paying attention to ourselves and having tools and skills to be able to move us through those dark moments, what is some advice you would give to someone that you maybe think is going through what you're going through, Jess, or went through.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for deliverance, Lord. No, thank you. But my advice would definitely be, I think, and we've touched on a lot of these points already, not only to just listen to yourself, listen to your body, but, and my number one is always going to be to speak to someone, talk to someone. And this might seem like a shameless plug, but I'm going to throw it out there. Anyway, that is why I created Color My Story. There is a community for you when you're in a vulnerable season, when you're in a season where it doesn't look like your highlight reel for social. It doesn't look like how when someone says, how are you doing? And you got to give them that automatic good. What it looks like authenticity. It looks like vulnerability. It looks hard sometimes, and we're here for you. I'm here for you. You can always reach out to us on our website if you just need someone to talk to, but make sure you're using any type of resource there is out there, 988, anything to talk to someone, because when I have to tell this story every time I have a session that I almost went to that dark space and I would potentially not be here anymore, I have to reflect on the fact that I could really not be here. And that all was because of a season. And I would have missed out on this last 8 years of just amazingness. So know that it gets better. Know that you're worth it. Know that you matter. Your happiness matters. And I would tell them, talk to anyone, someone.
Never,
number one.
Never make a permanent decision based on temporary circumstances.
Exactly.
Emotions, feelings, seasons.
I just want to say, Jasmine, thank you for being here.
Oh.
No, not just thank you for being here, but thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to be here. You know, because
that's a choice.
It's a choice.
That's a hard choice.
It's
A day-to-day choice. A minute-to-minute choice.
Of course.
Minute to minute.
Sometimes nowadays you really just have to thank people for choosing to still be here, because you chose to be here today. And to your question, I think it is about being able, and to Jasmine's point, leaning on people, you know, being able to like let that guard down and to be vulnerable and transparent, because I mean, we have nothing else to lose but to be transparent and vulnerable in ourselves. Like, you are you, and that's beautiful no matter what. No matter the darkness, no matter what's going on, you are you. And so for so long, I'm like, I wasn't okay with who I was. But baby, once I was able to look, the pivotal moment was when I was able to look in a mirror and say, I love you, Charjoi. I love you. And to imagine a time when that was so hard.
That you wouldn't even look at yourself. I didn't even know that I had grown freckles at one point because I hadn't looked at myself in so long. So I didn't even realize, like, I wouldn't look, I would get ready. You know how you get ready, but you're not really looking at yourself? You're not really paying attention. You literally are in the motion.
It's like a glimmer of you.
It's like my mirror was not clean the entire time. And then when it became clean, I was like, oh wait.
Hey.
Oh, hey, girl. Hey, girl.
Yeah.
You good.
And then I think once you see that reflection and you see you, I think it turns on a switch.
It shifts it.
Where it's just like, wow, I have somebody else to take care of. And that somebody is me. And so
all of me's in here. It's a bunch of us in here.
All of me. Right. Depending on the time and the day and the time of day, like,
environment,
right, and who I'm with. But you know, just being able to like be vulnerable, be transparent, share your story. If you are not doing okay, don't say that you are.
I like when I asked you that question, you gave a real answer, not saying anything, because you may be good today.
No,
you're great. You're doing really well.
Today's
but some people give that automatic answer.
Hey,
I'm good. I'm straight.
You walk by
right.
somebody.
You know what I mean? Like,
also
do you really want to know the answer when you ask that question? Is that just a generic, hey, how you doing?
Like, it has become a norm for us to walk past someone and say, oh, hey, how you doing? And we keep walking.
We keep going.
And that is an open-ended question.
Nobody, and sometimes I'll hear the answer and I'll be like, oh, I'm good too. Oh, good, great, thank you.
Literally,
literally it's a passing.
We ask somebody how they're doing, and like literally we're not even making the space or the time for them to really say how they're doing. So it's like, oh, hey, I'm good. So you're just so used to putting up that, oh, I'm good, oh, I'm fine, oh, I'm straight. But are you? But are you?
Not
because
really.
You just broke down in your car right before we crossed paths.
Before you walked in this door, right?
Are you actually okay? And so I think it's just one of those moments where it's like, be real with yourself, be honest, because there are times when people, my loved ones, will say, oh, hey, how you doing today? I'm like, I'm not okay. And when I was able to say that to people, I'm like, oh, we done broke the barrier. I can see myself. I done told y'all I'm not okay. So like, what we gonna do about it?
Yeah.
So
What happens next, right? When they say I'm not okay, what happens? How do they color their story? How do they make sure that they are coloring their story, telling their story?
Well, I guess that's
a slang. Right to Jazz.
No, so there is a 3-step process, the way you color your story. And I tell people all the time, what you put into the process is what you're going to get out of it.
Okay.
If you are done with the 3-step process and you still feel very heavy or you still feel unmoved or you don't feel well, you need something bigger. You need more. If you go
as
through
in
the
therapy
process,
more, or as in like more like okay.
You definitely probably need to talk to a licensed professional.
Okay.
Because the point of the process is for you to release. It's not a process that's going to diagnose you or that's going to give you action steps on how to deal with whatever's happening.
It's to recognize.
It is to recognize that you're not okay. It's to recognize you're having a hard day today and you're releasing.
Okay.
After you release, there's usually relief. If you don't have relief after you release,
you need something more.
You need more. And so that is my number one message when I guide people through the process. But
so you're speaking of a process, and you just start talking about the process, right?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So tell us a little bit about color your story.
Yes. So with Color My Story, we offer 3 opportunities to tell your story. So we can come into your space. We go into youth spaces and hold these color workshops.
Okay.
If we're unable to come to you, I have my very own color kit. Shout out to Pepsi because I wouldn't have it without them. Shout out to Pepsi. I created this color kit that you can follow along the process with me virtually, or you can click the QR code and then you can do it by yourself. So there's a kit. It comes with the 3 steps in the kit, or you can book me and I can come to your space and I can teach you how to do the 3 steps.
This isn't, so we think coloring books, right?
Oh, so you're thinking,
We're thinking youth, young,
paint.
6, not even paint.
Yeah.
You're thinking, when you're thinking coloring books or paint, you think youth. You think a child. How many adults have you helped color their story?
I've taught over 4,000 people how to tell their story in color, ranging from all over this nation to people in Ireland, England, Kenya, South Africa. I've been so blessed with the kit that we're able to reach international borders. Yes, that's nothing but God.
Right.
Praise God, thank the Lord.
Yes, indeed.
So yes, it's a color kit. It comes with 3 different paint colors, and it comes with some journaling prompts, and it has some really cool things. And I usually don't like to give too much, but if you want to get one, it's colormystory.net. It's really a great time for you to bring people together and have a very shared human experience, a community, vulnerability.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's pretty.
You said shared human experience.
Yeah.
Many of us think that's social media, right?
Oh gosh.
Many of us think we're sharing ourselves with each other on social media, right? Lived experience, similar experiences, but we only show the ending picture. I know a few pages that really take
some
you
of
through
those
the
ending
process.
pictures are
Come on, they're not even theirs. Let's talk
there are
about it.
platform Photoshop, girl.
Everything edited.
So in this
Completely
world,
made up.
in this world of you have to be in this box, right? How do we teach our people, our listeners, of how to still be in, social media's here and we utilize it for many different ways. It's not going anywhere, right? But you need to be able to tell the full story and not just the colored picture or the colored story. Black and white matters. Like before you put your paint on that picture, before you invest in yourself, before you can release yourself to the world, there's a black and white blueprint on that paper, right? There's an outline picture of some sort that you have developed for us to color before we leave here. And through that coloring, we recognize different things on the paper or whatever. When you're in that black and white phase, before you color yourself, before you present yourself to social media or whatever product you have created to present to social media, in that black and white phase, how do we teach our young people and our adults of how to be one before you color yourself? Because I'm going to break that down. You were somebody before you found yourself, right? There was a lot of you that happened before that, right? In that black and white, it shaped you. Before you knew and could color that shape, you had to become shaped. So those experiences in your life, had you not experienced them, you wouldn't have this shape to color, right? Because you can't change your shape. You can't change what happened to you. You can't change what's happening to you, or you can't change what's going to happen to you. Like, you can make decisions that sort of navigate that water. But when you're making that frame, and that frame is being made for you, tell me, what pieces do you rely on before you color from your past that still is resonant for today? Like the hurt, the harm,
Yeah.
the good and bad experiences that you held on to before you got to that epiphany moment that, oh, I am a person. Oh, I need to know who this person is, because we've been feeling from that blanket slate. Tell me how do you, and I asked this question before, you're in a dark place providing light. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that shape, that dark, those experiences that have shaped this before we colored?
I think it's important to know that that's still you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all those pieces, all those past selves, it's still you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what makes me today.
Right.
And so, even like, my life has been beautiful. Like you said earlier, like, I have nothing to really complain about.
Mm-hmm.
For real. Like, it could be so much worse. I have a beautiful life. Like, has there been bumps along the road?
Right.
Absolutely. And if there weren't, is it life at that point? You
right.
know? And so life and wellness and healing and all of those things are not a destination. It's a continuous journey.
That's it.
And so along that journey, I know there's going to be bumps along the road. And so, again, those things shape me for who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I learn from them. I learn from or they say, you know, every single thing in your life, good or bad, it teaches you a lesson.
Yeah.
And it's what you do with that lesson that will really shape the outcome of your future.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I have been blessed enough to learn from those things and be able to mold and shape myself enough to be adaptable.
Yeah.
And say, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to roll with these punches right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to come out better for it.
Yeah.
Because I am a firm believer that my life is destined for greatness.
Yeah.
Even if that just means my greatness means that I love myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people in this world that
don't.
So I think what it looks like is being able to just know that you are going to change throughout your life. There are going to be many versions of you.
Great point.
And you are building upon each and every version.
And
just
no
make it
version,
better.
and just like with a Lego thing, because I like Legos, don't judge me, okay? But you can't have one piece without the other.
Right.
Like that, you cannot figure out how to get that piece over here without that middle piece. So you could not be who you are today without all of those
You choose
things,
where the piece
experiences.
goes.
You choose where the piece
how
goes.
it makes it better, but you choose to just continually, like, you know, build upon that.
Yeah.
Are you going to grieve throughout your life?
Of course.
Losing who you thought you were, who you thought you wanted to be,
Yeah.
what you thought you had? Absolutely. That's a part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I've grieved my past lives so much.
Yeah.
But then I'm able to look at me and say, hey, girl, hey, like, I love you. I'm able to look at myself a year ago or look at my inner child and say, hey, I love you, little girl. I love you. If you didn't feel love then, no matter what chapter or page in my life, if you didn't feel love then, just know that I love you.
Right now. Any points to that, Jazz? When you're working with individuals and before you even start to paint and you have the image in front of them, what is it that you talk to them about before adding color to your page?
Well, I think it always goes back to one of my number one points is your story has power. And so when you think about your story, you don't think about just the good chapters. You got to think about, like, I wouldn't be sitting here with you with this beautiful platform if I didn't have all those not so vibrant chapters.
Yes.
So I just always encourage people to know you can do something powerful with those pieces that are a little broken and a little, cracked. You can do something, you can still create a beautiful masterpiece with those cracked pieces. So it just always goes back to honing in on that message. Choose what chapters you want to share with the world to make the world better. Choose what chapters that you're going to hold on to remind you of where you come from and remind you of how beautiful your life is, because I wish I could say the same. I've had a lot of bumpy roads in my life, but I wouldn't. When I think about it, I wouldn't ask God to give me a different path or an easier path, because the person I am today is because of those very black and white cracks and not some pretty lines. So
That's it.
own your story.
Own your story. Like that.
story.
That is so true. Like I am life. I live life. I've given life. I think I give life to others. I do recognize that in that life, there has been some non-life moments for me. Like there's been some moments where I didn't want to be here, where I thought about, this world really doesn't need me. I'm not, but then I realized what would happen if those people that I'm giving life to didn't have me. So the world may not need you, but your world needs you. Like your world is dependent upon you, right? And being able to feel myself to understand that if I am full, they are full.
Yes.
But they can't be full if I am not full.
cannot.
Y'all have been an amazing, amazing, amazing time today. The thoughts that you have given, the information that you have provided. I want to ask a question of what's next? Now that you have found yourself, now that you are loving yourself, now that you're made the masters and it's past the masters. Now that Color My Story is there and it has been born and people know about it, what's next? Because there's a new layer to you now. So there's a new building and a new love and a new passion that you have for yourselves. So what's next for you?
Well, I'm going to just chime in and say I'm going to keep feeding my inner child. I'm going to keep coloring, and I'm going to keep doing every little thing that excites me that could change tomorrow, that could change next month. But that I know for my healing journey, staying very locked in on anything that brings me joy and things from my childhood has been so impactful for me. So staying true to my youth and staying true to things that I'm joyful and care about and take care of myself is number one.
Yeah.
I can't take care of nobody else if I'm not taking care
Yeah.
of. So that's what's next for me. I'm going to continue to do this process every day of taking care of me.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, likewise, I am in a, not necessarily even a season, y'all, because it's a lifestyle at this point. I am a lifestyle for me.
There it is.
And so what's next for me is the continuous learning process in life. Being able to be, me and my therapist is working on this, y'all.
I love it.
Being
Still a work in progress.
Right, in the work of progress, boundaries, you know how hard those things are.
Yes, it is.
But, being present, being here, being grounded,
Yeah.
not necessarily focused on the future or the past, because, anxiety,
caught up
anxiousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't got time.
We'll take over.
I'm going to have to schedule me appointments. JK, my therapy session was yesterday. Yeah. But no, it really is. What's next is life.
Yeah.
What's next is life. I don't necessarily have anything outlined. And
I
for
love that.
someone who loves to be in control like me, that is a work in progress on its own. It's just taking life by the horn.
Letting loose. Letting it go.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Letting it go.
Let it
You
go.
gotta
I'm letting it go.
That's part of our color process, by the way.
Hello.
Let it go or let it flow. But
Listen,
I like it. So that's why you need to contact her so you can learn more about the
Okay.
process.
Let it go
right?
and
So
let it flow.
ColorMyStory.net. Look us up. Follow us on Instagram.
I'm going in with that. Let it flow and let it go.
What's next for you?
You can't skip out on a question now.
I was the question there. What's next for me?
Know about you too.
It's pretty much the same. Like being very intentional about me and not allowing others to place who I am before me. Like for so long, I look for validation in others. Like, how you feel about this? Do you think I should do this? Do you think I should change the color of my hair? What if I cut my hair? Like things that I wanted to personally change about myself, I'm asking an outside person about. Like and for me, when that switch happened for me, that's when life began to happen. Like me not looking for validation. And again, still a work in progress because I'll call my mom or my sister.
Yes.
I have this idea in my head.
Journey,
it
y'all.
is a lifelong journey. And it's a struggle to not ask for validation because for so long you've looked for validation for others. So for me, it's stop asking others, am I valid? The Lord has already stamped that for me.
The day you were born.
If I wasn't valid, I wouldn't be here. Amen. If you weren't valid, you wouldn't be here. If you didn't matter, you wouldn't be here. So realizing that you don't have to look outside to know what's inside. You've got to look inside so that you can recognize what affects you from outside so that you can build your inside. So for me, it's building that inside and stop looking outside.
Stop putting a question mark where the Lord put a period.
A period.
Nah, that's my microphone. Brain drop.
Y'all get some
my own sound effects.
Shane brain.
Ooh, that was so
But
good.
listen, y'all,
That was
this
good.
was really good.
This
This
was
was
my soul.
amazing. A great conversation. I think
you.
we needed it.
Yes,
I think that because we don't realize how much we really need our sisters or really need our people to really, really hold us up and hold us in. Like we're talking about building ourselves, but you also have to build a circle around you because you can't handle and hold it all. You need somebody to lean on. You need somebody to cry to, but you got to have a safe person. You can't do that with just anyone because for us, it's hard for us to break that barrier to let anyone in. So telling someone our true feelings, telling someone how we truly feel, that's a huge vulnerable moment that I am still working on. Like I still lie about how I'm feeling to my mom, to my children. If I had a dog, I probably lied to the dog. So I just lied to my pillow.
The
'Cause I don't have
dog
no man
will
in the bed,
know,
so I'm lying to the
okay? The
pillow.
dog
I
will
lie and lie to the pillow, okay?
Give yourself
I lie
grace.
with and lie to the pillow, but that's another. Cut that out, okay?
Nah, leave that in there. I said single and ready to mingle.
You see the hair. But look, you guys, I really appreciate y'all. I do not want to leave here without individuals knowing how to connect with us, how to connect with you, Jasmine. We brought you here to talk about Color My Story, but you gave us so much more about your story that you colored throughout branding Color My Story, right?
Yes.
Charjoi, you are connected to Silence the Shame. We are connected to Silence the Shame. Silence the Shame is a great organization that's helping us to silence the shame. I want to know how you silence the shame in your world.
Well, is that? I'm gonna answer.
Jazz.
I guess.
Go.
Okay. Living loud and colorfully is how I silence the shame, and coming on platforms like this and telling my story and not being shame about
Right.
that season. So that's how I'm very vocal about my story, and I want you all to continue to tell yours as well. You never know who you might impact or help or save. So,
Save.
what about you?
I work, live, eat, and breathe wellness. So how I silence my shame is practicing what I preach. With Silence the Shame, I help with, promoting mental health education and awareness for Black and brown and marginalized communities. And when I look out into the world, I see my family, I see my friends, I see myself, and whatever I am helping to educate y'all on, I have to practice it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I can't just be telling y'all how to take care of yourselves, silence your shame, and don't do it for myself. So that's how I do it.
For me, it's silencing my shame is just living life on purpose. Like being very purposefully doing things for me.
And you
Traveling, cutting my hair, changing my nail color, watching a new show, introducing myself to a new culture. Like I'm living life on purpose. Somebody was like, "You going during that time?" I am. They gonna be all right. It's gonna be there before. It was there before me. It's gonna be there after me, and it ain't gonna stop while I'm over here. So you have to realize and be very intentional on living life, as we all are being right now. I'm so excited for y'all. I'm so excited you're on the other side of that, and how we can help others get to the other side of that is by joining and listening to the Silence the Shame podcast, but also providing and looking inward and getting some tools and skills on your mental health. Like Jazz mentioned 988, there's My GCal, there's Silence the Shame, there's Free Your Feels. There's so many resources out here to help you identify tools and skills to be able to silence your shame. Don't be ashamed. All of us have gone through it, gone through something or gone through it. So be intentional, live life on purpose. Yeah. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
I really appreciate y'all. All right. Tell the world, tell the Silence the Shame podcast how to find you.
Well, you can find Color My Story on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at color_my_story on every platform, YouTube too. And then if you want to visit our website for a free consultation or for products or services, www.colormystory.net. And that's that.
Awesome. And I'm going to put on my Silence the Shame hat and be the creative director, and just say that y'all can obviously follow Silence the Shame at Silence the Shame on all the social media platforms, YouTube channel, podcast channels, wherever you're listening. Make sure y'all share it. And we are national now. We are national. Well, hold on, wait. The organization have always been a national organization, but we are just increasing our visibility. So if you are in LA, Chicago, New York, or right outside of Houston, and you see a nice little billboard with some beautiful kids on there with Silence and Shame, go ahead and take a picture and tag us in it, because we coming. Yeah. We are coming.
What is the campaign that the billboards is about?
Yeah, it's actually the campaign is mental health is not a luxury, it's a priority. And so what it is, it really just signifies that each and everyone deserves mental wellness, self-care, healing. We all deserve it.
Right.
It does not equal or take a price tag to be able to heal, or just be able to accept that you need help or services or resources. So Silence the Shame is doing what we can to make sure that, again, marginalized communities can, afford through energy, through resources, through all of those things, just afford to be able to be well.
And on that note, go visit Silence the Shame. Yes. Thank you, ladies, again for joining the Silence the Shame podcast. I will be calling y'all back again. This will not be the last time. So super excited to be able to provide an opportunity for individuals to hear your story and to be connected to Color My Story. So thanks again, you guys. I would like to thank our sponsors, our listeners, our friends, our family for joining us for another wonderful podcast with Silence the Shame. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video. And don't forget to donate by texting silence to 707070. And remember to take time, save a life, and silence the shame.